Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. There is renewed chatter around the whole leadership question surrounding Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai. Will he continue to be Chief Minister going into next year's Assembly elections, or will he be replaced? There is speculation that the High Command is not exactly happy with his performance. There is a view that he's seen as too passive on issues that matter to the average BJP Karyakarta and, of course, to the average voter as well. But the speculation has been squashed, at least for the moment, by former Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa. In fact, Yediyurappa was the man that Bommai replaced exactly a year ago. There is uncertainty in leadership, not just in the BJP, but in the Congress as well, because of this ongoing, almost fratricidal war between Siddaramaiah, the former Chief Minister, and D.K. Shivkumar, the State Congress President. So what hope do the people of Karnataka have for clear and decisive leadership if both the main parties are caught in a fight?
It is amusing me. These people are trying to do time and again, and they think that they can bring instability in the minds of the people.
Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai on the defensive amid speculation of a possible leadership change ahead of the high-stakes assembly elections in the state. The rumours have been growing stronger after Home Minister Amit Shah's visit to Bengaluru last week. Then former BJP MLA Suresh Gowda added fuel to fire by indicating that if there is any change, it will happen before the 15th of August. But this was categorically denied by former Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa.
ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಸತ್ಯಾಂಶ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನು ಕೇವಲ 7-8 ತಿಂಗಳಿರುವಂಥ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವರು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳಾಗಿ ಬಸವರಾಜ ಬೊಮ್ಮಾಯಿ ಅವರು ಮುಂದುವರಿತಾರೆ. ಅನಗತ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು, ಟಿವಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು ಸರಿಯಲ್ಲ.
But the Karnataka Congress took a dig at Bommai, putting out tweets claiming that the puppet chief minister is on his way out. This too was downplayed by Congress strongman Siddaramaiah.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಕೂತ್ಕೋಬಾರ್ದ್ರಿ. ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಸುರೇಶ್ ಗೌಡ ಯಾವ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಯಪ್ಪ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿರೋದು.
Bommai completed a year in office towards the end of July. A year that has seen several controversies rock the state. From a series of hate crimes, particularly in the Dakshina Kannada region, to the ban on hijab in educational institutes, the alleged saffronization of textbooks, and the 40% commission charge.
The opposition says where your government has not lived up to the challenge is the issue of corruption. They are often using this title of 40% Sarkar. There was also this contractors association that had reportedly written to the Prime Minister. There was one of them who committed suicide. Can you clarify for our viewers how your government is fighting against this perception of corruption?
First of all, that letter was written before I became a chief minister. That is a basic thing people forget. That letter was written before my becoming chief minister. After becoming chief minister, I have reined in corruption at all levels. We have built in now systems where the payments for the people will be done directly into their accounts. Secondly, I have established a high-level committee under the judiciary where all the estimates and tender conditions are scrutinized. Hence, now everything will be almost a judicial scrutiny before it is implemented.
Adding to the BJP's headache is the massive show of strength at Siddaramaiah's 75th birthday bash. So is there any truth to the rumours? Will there be a leadership change in Karnataka?
Before we go to our guests, I want to go first across to a minister from the Karnataka state government. Dr. K. Sudhakar is the health minister of Karnataka. Thank you very much, Dr. Sudhakar, for speaking with us. There is a lot of speculation doing the rounds, both within your party and outside from the opposition as well, that there is going to be a leadership change in your state. What can you say to put to rest that speculation once and for all? Because after all, your state goes to polls in less than a year's time.
It's not me, it was our Honorable President of the party, our Home Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister, the state unit BJP's President. They've all told that Mr. Bommai is here to stay under whose leadership our party will go into the 2023 elections under his leadership.
Okay.
This has been very clearly emphasized and told in public meetings. Secondly, the Congress people in Karnataka, I think they are politically unemployed, as we all know. So they are trying to make some case where there is nothing here. So it is absolutely absurd to speak about the leadership change in Karnataka because our Honorable Chief Minister, who is one of the finest administrators that this state has found.
But Dr. Sudhakar, the fact is that, and I'm sure you're aware of this as well, Mr. Siddaramaiah today, for example, said that this entire rumor of changing of Chief Minister was started by one of the MLAs from your party, Mr. Suresh Gowda, one of the leaders of your party. What do you have to say about that? Because it's not just the opposition that's saying that the Chief Minister will be changed, even your own people are saying the same thing.
No, one of our former MLA legislator, he, while interacting with media, he has said something which can't be the statement of the party. It is his personal opinion which he only is eligible to answer. And in fact, our Honorable President of the State Unit has already clarified, and I think he is at the verge of giving him, issuing the notice as well, show cause notice to have spoken something, which is not the stand, which is not the viewpoint of the party. Because even as a minister, I am also not eligible to speak about this.
But Dr.
This is not my mandate. The mandate or to speak such things is done normally by our national president or our honorable, very senior people in the party who are in Delhi or who is there in the state as a state unit.
But Dr. Sudhakar, what would you say on people who say Mr. Bommai's track record in the last 1 year has been a mixed bag? We've had issues from hijab to this whole halal versus jhatka. Then, of course, this perennial allegation of corruption. 40% sarkar is what Mr. Bommai's government is known as. All of these have made it into a mixed and a patchy track record over the last 1 year. What would you say to them?
One cannot attribute a few murders that have taken place during in last 1 year in Karnataka, and you can't blame Honorable Chief Minister for that, because when you compare the Congress rule between 13 to 18, if you are talking about religious
incidents,
kind of fights, we had almost 350 incidents during religious riots during Siddaramaiah's regime. When you compare to BJP's regime in 3 years, and especially in the last 1 year, it is about 38.
Okay.
And the earlier Congress Home Minister on the floor of the House has accepted that there were more than 18 deaths because of the religious riots, communal violence.
Okay.
So it's not that then he continued for 5 years.
Okay.
It's not that Bommai is silent on such things. He may be decent enough, he may be mild physical appearance, but is very strong when it comes to administration and governance.
Okay. Dr. Sudhakar, we'll leave it at that. We'll see. We will both see how this story plays out, whether there is indeed this leadership change that people are talking about or whether it's just a rumor. But for the moment, thank you very much, Dr. Sudhakar, there for joining us here on Brass Tacks. Let me now open this up to our guests who are joining us on the panel this evening. Mohan Vishwa is Karnataka BJP spokesperson, Aishwarya Mahadev, Congress Party spokesperson, R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist, and Chandan Gowda is professor at the Institute for Social and Economic Change in Bengaluru. Aishwarya Mahadev, I'll start with you first, because what Mr. Bommai and his people, you've heard Dr. Sudhakar a moment ago, what they are saying is that Mr. Bommai's track record is as good, if not better, than what the track record of the Congress Party was between 2013 and 2018. and once the BJP decides, they will go with one leader, unlike your party, which is rife with this internal fight between Mr. Siddaramaiah and Mr. Shivkumar.
Good evening, Zaka. I think first and foremost, heavy obviously is the head that wears the crown for the BJP in any of the states, because job security is something that's not very easy to come by. When you look at the 2009 period onwards, you saw 3 chief ministers for the BJP, of course, because infamously the previous chief minister went to jail, Mr. Yediyurappa. Then you see Mr. Bommai now mired with not only his own party people talking against him, but his common karyakartas on the ground also talking against him. And now your interview, very funny things I want to talk about is when Mr. Bommai is talking about, oh no, corruption, that letter happened before I came into power. Who was in power before Mr. Bommai became chief minister? The BJP itself. He says he's reined in the corruption, while tacitly obviously admitting that there was corruption. One. Second, Mr. Sudhakar talks about it is not Mr. Bommai's fault. He's chief minister now. When the deaths happened, he was home minister previously, and law and order came under him. His inefficiency as home minister is also something that was glaring in the BJP's administration and time. Singularly, it does not matter what the Congress has to say, because there are enough and more people in the BJP talking about the leadership being in trouble.
Okay.
We have kept quiet about it. The speculation was started, whether it's Mr. Yatnal, there's Mr. Nirani saying, I also want to be. There are so many leaders talking about their aspirations about CM. But the BJP will not focus on the trauma and the problems in their own house. They will talk about the fact that there's some problem in the Congress. How does it matter?
No, there is a problem in the Congress too. Let's not brush that under the carpet. But let me get Mohan Vishwa to respond to it. To be fair, I think this time around the speculation started after Suresh Gowda came out and said that there's going to be a change of leadership. Many others in the BJP have also thrown their hat in the ring, from Ishwarappa to Mr. Jagdish Shettar, others who have chief ministerial aspirations. So this time at least, it has not come from the opposition, it has come from within your party, Mr. Mohan Vishwa.
Zaka, see, it's anybody's common sense. They should understand that we are going for election another next 8 or 9 months. Probably post-December, there will be no much of activity. Everybody will in the election mode. Hardly for 5 to 6 months. I don't think so. Anybody who's having a common sense should understand that nobody will change the chief minister. That too for a state like Karnataka, which has 224 assembly constituencies. Please remember. Okay, that is point number 1. Point number 2, when you hear the entire speech of Suresh Gowda, who was talking in front of the TV reporter, at the end, he just says that, if something happens, it might happen before 15. That's what he said. He never said that, there will be a change in chief minister, there will be a change in, some other leadership. Nothing. Okay. The Congress, which is, what I can say is Gar Ek Darwaza Anek. Okay, so there are at least 7 to 8 chief minister contenders from Congress. Okay, who don't have guts even today to say who is their chief minister for 2023 and under whose single leadership they don't want to go for elections in 2023, and they are commenting on our leader. Okay, it's totally unfortunate.
Okay.
So they were not able to prove anything till now. You take anything from past 1 year or 2 years, the allegations is made by Congress, which are totally baseless. It can be even Bitcoin also. Mr. Karge came out with some stupid paper. He was not able to give, the basic.
Okay, let's stick to the leadership issue. I want to ask R. Rajagopalan also, and also Mr. Chandan Gowda. R. Rajagopalan, the speculation is also on the back of some senior leaders in the Karnataka BJP having come to Delhi and met with the senior leadership of the BJP here in Delhi. I don't want to take any names, but that is also leading to this speculation that Mr. Bommai may be changed. And of course, all of this is being fed by the fact that Mr. Bommai's track record, at least the perception is not as good as what the BJP was hoping for when they removed Mr. Yediyurappa over a year ago. How much truth is there? Is something going to happen in Karnataka, or is this just speculation? Because, at one level, Mr. Mohan Vishwa is right. If you're going to change the chief minister with just 8 months to go for polls, it's as good as an admission of defeat.
Zaka, I understand because I follow the Karnataka BJP Congress politics very closely. There is a confusion in BJP leadership, but that does not mean that they are going to change the leadership. My understanding is it is a crucial stage. BJP has got high stakes because of the Prime Minister and because of Yediyurappa. And secondly, very recently, Yediyurappa's son was also accommodated. Yediyurappa's, choices were honored by the Prime Minister, like Shobha Karandade becoming the Union Minister. So therefore, BJP is in a fighting mode. But that is not seen in Congress. In Congress, Zaka, you compare Punjab and Karnataka, who is going to be the challenging Channi of Karnataka? And Siddaramaiah, maybe even Amarendra Singh. Navjot Singh Sidhu kaun hai? Because Congress is totally confused, because Ma, Beti, Beta confused. Here it is reflected on the ground level. So therefore, in another 250 days, Karnataka is going to have a new, assembly. 224 is the major, the mark. I am very confident BJP will have a major edge and Congress will be divided into three parts.
Okay.
You wait and watch. Siddaramaiah will have the blessings of Rahul Gandhi, which will provoke Mr. D.K. Shivkumar either to walk out or become Navjot Singh Sidhu of Karnataka.
Chandan Gowda, in as much as Mr. Rajagopalan's point is that because of this internal fight in the Congress between Mr. Siddaramaiah and Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, which seems to be far graver a problem for a challenger party as opposed to an incumbent party, is that going to blunt any confusion that the BJP may have about its own top leadership in the state of Karnataka?
Thank you, Zaka. It's true that there seemed to be a tussle, and maybe there is still continuing tussle between Siddaramaiah and D.K. Shivkumar about who might become the chief minister. But the August 3rd birthday, event in Davangere, I think has made for very new dynamics. The number of people who showed up was beyond anyone's expectations, and it did show that there was a grassroots anti-incumbency was also. It's not just about Siddaramaiah being liked by a large number of people. There was visible or sort of tangible resentment against some of the policies of the government. In this case, it could need not only be the state government, it would also be the price rise issue, which is an all-India issue. So, and the reconciliatory sort of gestures that were made on the stage seem to be, at least to watch the event on television, and it months long time, we don't know, how things might pan out. But one can't be sure that the differences or the competing interest in being CM is going to surely remain and will surely fracture the party rank and file, the way the other panelists were just saying.
But there's been no resolution. There's been no resolution, and that's the problem.
I think it's a good thing. I don't see why a CM phase needs to be an absolute necessity before you go to an election. I mean, I don't know. The different parties have different strategies. It may be good to just go without any names in front of them right now. Zaka, the other thing about Bommai, very quickly, the other panelists haven't mentioned the fact that over the last 6 months, the Chief Minister Bommai has been repeatedly visiting Delhi and asking them for a chance to reshuffle his cabinet, and that has been denied to him. This has been seen as a sign that the center, the High Command with the BJP may want to change him, which is why they're not allowing him to shuffle the portfolio. This is the one major.
No, but I keep coming back to this question of the fight in the Congress, because two things. One, I think for a challenger party, it's that much harder if they are seen as not united, divided, and that too with such two powerful players. And secondly, I want to take that point that Professor Gowda made forward with Aishwarya Mahadev. It's not like things got resolved in Davangere. Yes, I mean, it was a great photo op. There were people who turned up. Rahul Gandhi was there. He said, we're not going to be discussing the leadership issue now. The priority is to displace the BJP, so on and so forth. But what's the resolution to this? Are we any closer to knowing today if the Congress party were to come to power in Karnataka, will Mr. Siddaramaiah be Chief Minister or will D.K. Shivkumar be Chief Minister? That question has not been resolved, unfortunately.
Zaka, before I answer that, Mohan Vishwa talks about common sense of replacing chief ministers before polls, and you saw what happened in Uttarakhand. But besides that, the singular fact remains, and I think we've made this emphatically clear everywhere. Mr. Rahul Gandhi has, the High Command has, the in-charges have, is that the Congress is going to face these elections on that plank of collective leadership. And Mr. Rajgopal, and I'm very certain he's not prophetic about this, but when he talks about, somebody will be the face, the other person will leave, that is the problem where you assume assume that power is the only driving force behind the congressmen in question here. First and foremost, both of them have agreed that they will work together, and it is the plank of bringing the party to power, and that is what what we're going to take forward for the polls. And knowing Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, he's a congressman through and nothing, and no amount of any changes is going to obviously coerce him to pull the plug or move, or even like Mr. Sudhakar, who talks about the period of 2013 onwards when he himself was in the Congress in Karnataka. And the reality is, this speculation, this media sort of hype around this idea of divided house and whatnot is basically distracting away from the fact that the Congress party is still actively working on the ground. There is nothing that is keeping them from not working. You see, the next 2-3 days, we have a monumental Padyatra that is happening. The leadership is together on it. I'm sure there are observers of decades who are very senior and who observe this. But from what I see as a card-carrying member who works closely on the ground in what is happening in my party, I think everything is quite all right. The BJP needs to be far more worried
you're
about
perfectly entitled to have that view that everything is all right in your party. But I guess the pictures speak louder than words, and sound bites speak louder. But anyway, Mohan Mishra, coming back to the question, I mean, irrespective of what happens inside the Congress party, fact is that there is such a thing as anti-incumbency. Now, you heard Professor Gowda saying that to him, the large crowd that turned up in Davangere is a reflection of not just, you know, what is happening in the Congress or support for Siddaramaiah, but he believes it's also an indication of grassroots level anger against your government. Otherwise, that many number of people would not have shown up for that rally in Davangere to celebrate Mr. Siddaramaiah's 75th birthday. Please respond.
Saka, before responding to your question within 10 seconds, I want to say one thing to Aishwarya. Uttarakhand hardly had 80 assembly constituencies. Please understand, Karnataka has 224, 3 times bigger than Uttarakhand. Okay, this is the basic sense which everybody should understand. Number one. Coming back to your question, Zaka, in what do you say? Taking an example of this Davangere Siddaramaiah Utsava itself, see, we being a BJP party, you are also, heading a national news channel. You would have seen from past 10 years, after Modi ji, or past 8-9 years after Modi ji took over as the Prime Minister of India. So the kind of rallies they have done across India, similar to that, at least more than 500-600 rallies they have done across India. In Karnataka itself in 2018, they have done more than 40-50 such rallies like that. So once, there is a rally about Siddaramaiah and people gather, it doesn't mean that, they will come to power and they're dreaming of becoming chief minister. No, that will not work. Purely, the fight within the Congress is very clear. Okay. So initially, if you take D.K. Shivkumar, what did he do? He consulted some PR agency from Delhi. They suggested him to go for Mekedatu Padayatra, which was never discussed. Just 1 week before in the assembly session in Karnataka. So just went like that, and he showed his power. Post that, Siddaramaiah, with the fear of losing his chief ministerial leadership, he did Siddaramaiah Utsava. Now, next MB Patil will come. He will do his MB Patil Utsava. Then you have Dalit ex-deputy chief minister, Mr. Parameshwar. He will do his Utsava. Then Zamir Ahmad Khan, even he wants to show. He will start doing his Utsava. You take it from me. So these are the things. Congress with one house divided by 40 doors. Let me tell you, each and every person, and you take their leadership itself in Karnataka, they took almost 2 years to appoint their office bearers after D.K. Shivkumar becoming president. And also, they have some 40 vice presidents. They have more than 100 general secretaries. Come on. So
all right. Let me go to Mr. Rajgopalan. Mr. Rajgopalan, the point is also that to remove first of all, to remove a sitting chief minister shows lack of confidence in him and probably would show weakness going into an electoral fight, and that to this close to an electoral fight. But more importantly, in the case of Karnataka and in the case of Mr. Bommai, 2 factors are very critical. Number one, he's a Lingayat. They are the biggest voting bloc in that state. They've been a steadfast voting bloc for the BJP. So to remove a Lingayat chief minister would be very, very difficult. That's number one. Number two, also if you were to remove Mr. Bommai, then how may that play out with Mr. Yediyurappa? Because ultimately, the temporary truce, if you will, that was bought when Mr. Yediyurappa was removed because he had crossed the 75 years age, sort of cut off in the BJP. The temporary truce was that Yediyurappa said, okay, I will give Mr. Bommai my blessings. He will take forward the mantle from me. But if Mr. Bommai goes, how may Mr. Yediyurappa react to that?
Who said Bommai is going except Congress? BJP is not saying. And second thing, Zaka, as I have understood the politics of Karnataka, it is only reflected in Rajya Sabha with Mallikarjun Kharge and Jairam Ramesh, Prahlad Joshi. Nowhere in the picture. Congress is nowhere in the picture in Karnataka. The reason being, even a short while ago, the Congress spokesman has accepted D.K. Shivkumar is a congressman, not Siddaramaiah. So therefore, it's a divided house. Siddaramaiah is from JDS. He is not being treated well. That is the grouse he has. He has the blessings of Priyanka Gandhi, not Rahul and Sonia. So therefore, under the groundswell, I see Bommai has a bright chance. He is not going to be removed. And at the same time, Congress, which is having an infighting, Siddaramaiah will be Amarendra Singh of Karnataka.
Okay, Aishwarya, a quick response and then I'll give the final word to Professor Gowda. Yeah.
First of all, it wasn't us who started the speculation of this man being changed. The sort of fact that there was uneasiness about people against Mr. Bommai came internally. And second, Zaka, it blows my mind because I cannot fathom the sort of links and the speculation and who's an outsider, who's an insider. At this point, the man has been chief minister. He is very clearly a part of the Congress family. He very clearly has been accepted. And all our issues aside, our leadership has already sorted it out. It is the BJP at this point that needs to sort itself out, look at the administration that they're giving or not, because their internal skirmishes cannot affect administration in my state, which is what is happening, what happened in the previous chief minister's term and now, and that is dereliction of duty. As an opposition party, our house is in order. We will go forward on a collective plank or collective leadership. It is for this BJP to obviously administer instead of miring themselves in who's going to obviously wear the throne next.
All
and
right,
I think that is what they need to do.
Let me give Professor Gowda the final word. Again, whether Mr. Bommai will be changed or not, the fact of the matter is that the caste combinations are absolutely critical in a state like Karnataka. As far as the BJP is concerned, the Lingayats have been a steady block with them for a number of years, maybe because of Mr. Yediyurappa, maybe even beyond Mr. Yediyurappa. Will that voting bloc continue to back the BJP? Because on the other side, you have a tall Kuruba leader and you have a tall Vokaliga in D.K. Shivkumar.
Yeah, Zaka, that's a very, very crucial point that you've touched on. See, if you noticed, Yediyurappa very recently announced that he would retire and that his son would contest from his home constituency. And the very next day, you have Amit Shah meeting him. And clearly, it shows how important Yediyurappa continues to be as someone who can mobilize a community's votes for a party which needs it desperately. Bommai, as you said, was someone who Yediyurappa preferred to have replaced him. Mm-hmm. But think about what has happened to Yediyurappa's son. He's not been able to secure anything in the new dispensation, which shows Bommai has been fairly powerless. So it's, the BJP is in a fix. Even if it wants to remove Bommai for whatever reason, it cannot if Yediyurappa is backing him, and we don't know what the equation is right now. But Yediyurappa continues to matter, and BJP is in a fix.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. I want to thank all our guests, Mr. Mohan Vishwa, Aishwarya Mahadev, R. Rajagopalan, Professor Chandan Gowda, for joining us. It is going to be a fascinating election, this, in Karnataka. We, of course, have Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh before that, but then Karnataka is going to be just as fascinating because it is open season. It is absolutely open season. Between the BJP and the Congress. If there is infighting in the Congress, there is, of course, leadership uncertainty in the BJP. Ultimately, as they say in electoral politics, may the best man prevail. Let's move on here in the program. Let's talk about the other big story that's happened today, and that, of course, is in West Bengal, where after Partho Chatterjee, now it's the turn of Anubrata Mondal, who is another senior functionary of TMC. In fact, he's the guy who came up with the slogan Khela Hobe in last year's assembly elections. He was arrested today by the CBI, and embarrassingly so for Mamata Banerjee, Mondal has been linked to a cattle smuggling scam. The TMC may have distanced itself from Anubrata Mondal. They're calling for an unbiased investigation. But how long can Mamata Banerjee be seen as distancing herself from these open cases of corruption? The pictures are speaking very, very loudly, whether it's the wads of currency discovered in Arpita Mukherjee's house, or of course the manner in which today Anubrata Mondal gave the investigators the chase. All of that. How much damage is this doing to Mamata Banerjee and to the TMC?
2 weeks, 2 aides of the Bengal Chief Minister, 2 big setbacks for the Trinamool Congress. After the Enforcement Directorate arrested former State Minister Partho Chatterjee in the SSC scam, today the CBI arrested TMC leader Anubrata Mondal in a cattle smuggling case. He was arrested for not cooperating in the probe after twice failing to turn up for questioning. This morning, a CBI team of 8 officers turned up at Mondal's house, but he locked himself in a room on the 2nd floor. He allegedly refused to sign the arrest warrant brought by the CBI team. Only after the CBI threatened to bring in paramilitary forces to break open the door did he reluctantly step out. Mondal is known as the Bahubali leader of the TMC in Birbhum. He is the founding member of the party in the district and is a close aide of Mamata Banerjee. He popularized the political slogan Khela Hobe, which dominated the 2021 West Bengal Assembly elections.
Khela Hobe! Anubrata Mondal je ekjon মাফিয়া এবং মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায়ের প্রশ্রয়ে আশ্রয়ে একটা মুদির দোকান থেকে যে ভাটে মাগুর মাছ বিক্রি করত সে আজকে 1000 কোটি টাকার মালিক তো মমতা ব্যানার্জির সৃষ্টি
এটা একটা ওয়েল অর্গানাইজড ক্রাইম হয়েছে ওয়েল অর্গানাইজড সিন্ডিকেটের মাধ্যমে হয়েছে যেখানে পুলিশ জড়িত তৃণমূল জড়িত নেতা জড়িত বিএসএফ জড়িত
Days after Partho Chatterjee was arrested, the TMC removed him from all posts, claiming it has a policy of zero tolerance towards corruption.
Trinamool will be the last one to tolerate any kind of irregularity or corruption when it comes to such kind of incident which is cropped up in the public domain. And there will be zero tolerance approach towards corruption.
Citing the same policy, TMC has now distanced itself from Anubrata Mondal and called for an unbiased investigation. But is it too little, too late?
All right, we're getting some breaking news. These are highlights of Anubrata's remand order, and I'm reading from it. There can be no physical or mental torture of the suspect. The Eastern Command Hospital in Kolkata is required to set up a medical board to monitor the suspect's health. Mondal's health checkup at the command hospital will take place every 48 hours. The suspect should be allowed to meet his lawyers for 30 minutes every day. Let me go across to Shogata Mukhopadhyay, who has more details on this. I think the health part is important because Mr. Mondal had, at least on more than one occasion, tried to take refuge in the SSKM hospital, which I believe the court turned down. So walk us through the highlights of this remand order, particularly on the health part.
Well, you see, Zaka, the health condition of Anubrata Mondal, especially when he himself pleaded in the court today that he has ailments in multiple organs, including heart, lung, kidneys, and other parts of the body. The court obviously took that plea seriously and has directed the CBI to ensure that Anubrata Mondal's health is well taken care of during the period of custody that he is remanded in. And that happened. That custody is till 20th of August, as we know now. And the command hospital in Kolkata, which is the finest military hospital in the Eastern Command area, will be entrusted with the job of maintaining the health of Anubrata Mondal at the time when he remains in CBI custody. And the court has directed the command hospital authorities to set up a medical board comprising doctors from both the cardiology and medicine departments to ensure that his health is taken care of in due condition till the time he remains in custody.
Okay, Shogata, we'll leave it at that. Shogata Mukhopadhyay there reporting for us from Kolkata. Let's now open this up to our two guests. Priyanka Tibrewal is spokesperson of the West Bengal BJP, and Dr. Shantanu Sen, Member of Parliament of the Trinamool Congress. Dr. Shantanu Sen, I'll start with you first. First it was Partho Chatterjee, now Anubrata Mondal. There are also some IPS officers linked to a coal scam. How long can Mamata Banerjee and your party continue to distance yourselves from these grave allegations of corruption? Because at some point, it's got to stick, and it's got to stick at the top.
I would answer your question in two parts. Number one, BJP is running the central government, having 303 BJP MPs, out of which 116 MPs are accused of criminal cases. And number two, I would like to let you know once again, Trinamool Congress and our Trinamool Congress run West Bengal government, we completely believe in zero tolerance to corruption. That's why what Trinamool Congress can do, no other party in this country can do. That's why Trinamool Congress politically banned Partho Chatterjee, and the government has temporarily kept him out of the ministry. On the contrary, few weeks back, we came to know that in the state of Gujarat, one minister was accused of raping one lady repeatedly, and he was accused of unlawful confinement. He is doing his ministry. Once again, in UP, one minister's son ran over 4 agitator farmers. He has got bail, and he was used in UP to run the election. And his father, the renowned minister, is very much openly enjoying the parliamentary politics, sitting behind Narendra Modi ji. Here lies
but
the
Dr.
difference
Sen,
between Trinamool
no, I have
Congress
I have one specific question for you. You are on the one hand saying you have zero tolerance for corruption. Fair enough. Yet at the same time, why are you tomorrow? I believe from 3 o'clock, TMC will be protesting outside the CBI zonal office in Kolkata. Why are you doing that? If you believe in zero tolerance to corruption, then you should allow the investigating agencies to do their job.
100%. Yeah, kindly allow me to answer your question. Kindly allow me to answer your question. Don't confuse. We have 100% faith and trust on judiciary, but we have several questions in mind regarding the neutrality of these central agencies, because there are tons and tons, thousands and thousands of evidences. You just tell me why CBI is not touching the person whose name is very much there in the CBI FIR and is presently the leader of the opposition. You just tell me why CBI is not touching Hemant Viswa Sharma, who is accused of so many things. You just tell me in several states run by non-BJP governments.
All right.
The opposition political leaders are getting affected by CBI and ED. On the contrary, the BJP leaders who are very much involved in several scams, they are getting excused.
Okay, Priyanka Tibrewal, respond to that. What the TMC is saying is similar to what Congress is saying, Aam Aadmi Party is saying. So once again, sir, let me ask the question.
One second. So just 1 second. So our tomorrow's rally is against the biased activity of the central agency, not against the investigation.
Okay, got it. Priyanka Tibrewal, so this is what most opposition parties are saying, including TMC, that you are using ED, CBI, IT as agents, as instruments to settle political scores. And number two, the question that you get constantly asked, what about Shuvendu Adhikari? What about Himanta Biswa? What about Mukul Roy? When these folks joined your party, suddenly, it's like they've all become clean and the cases against them are in the deep freezer.
No. Again, I will start by saying that I really pity Mr. Shantanu Sen, because at times they have to defend something which is undefensible and undefendable by them. So see, now whoever is at the receiving end, they are crying foul, and we all know that. So my suggestion to them will be that instead of shouting and yelling on the television, kindly go to the court of law, file your petition, mention all the names you are having difficulty with, speak against the ED, speak against the CBI, go before the judiciary, at least take the initiative of doing that. And when they question and they say that nobody from BJP, nobody to sir, get your data corrected. I'll tell you, in 2021 in Uttar Pradesh, Ajay Singh, he is a member MLA of BJP. His house was raided. His other relatives' house were also raided. In Madhya Pradesh, Om Prakash Dhubr, they are also MLAs of BJP. Their houses were raided by the CBI. Madhya Pradesh 2016 also, BJP Neta Sushil Vaswani, in their house and their relatives' house were also raided. So now, let me correct him that they may be, alleging that BJP is running the ED and the CBI, but they do not have any proof. If they have, I will tell them, go before the Supreme Court, file the same. People like Mr. Chidambaram and Mr. Deshmukh, they had gone a few days back. They have got a proper and befitting reply, and you will also get a befitting reply. So please go, but without any proofs. Do not just allege things, because that won't help. Now I will also say this, that they are saying that, no, they are not getting arrested, we are getting arrested. There is no denial to corruption. That means they are accepting that there is corruption. But they want
Okay.
that others on whom the charges are, they should also get arrested. Why only we?
But Dr. Shantanu Sen, it's not just about these isolated cases of a Partho Chatterjee or an Anubrata Mondal. What is worrying is, A, the larger question, and it plays, I guess, to this image or this perception that there is cut money culture, there is syndicate that is ruling in Bengal. So how are you going to negate that? And two, sir, may I please ask, and I ask my producers to play those pictures of that wads and wads of currency notes, 500 rupee notes, 2000 rupee notes, that were brought out from Arpita Mukherjee's residence. For the ordinary citizen of Bengal, it is almost revolting. It's almost repulsing. You say on the one hand there's price rise, no jobs, and then you have one a close aide of a TMC minister having God knows how many crores stashed inside her pillows, stashed inside her mattresses.
I am not disagreeing with you in at this particular point, but I would like to answer your question in three parts. Kindly allow me. Number one, Madam Priyanka was citing some example which is nothing but a small spoonful of water in an ocean. Number two, you are talking about the public perception and the culture. Had it been worse, then Trinamool Congress would have been losing in each and every election. On the contrary, in each and every election, public is bestowing Trinamool Congress with much more blessings, much more supports, and much more voting. That's why, madam, do not interfere kindly. I didn't interfere you. And last but not the least, my one humble question before Madam Priyanka. Just tell me who was Narayan Rane. Forget about Subhendu Adhikari. Just tell me who was Narayan Rane, who is presently your cabinet minister. You people alleged Narayan Rane. Now once he joined BJP, he became cabinet minister. Can you just deny it? You are talking about the money recovered from this Arpita. Madam, kindly do not interfere. Please do not interfere. I didn't interfere you, madam. Maintain this courtesy or I will quit. Maintain this courtesy. My humble request to the anchor, kindly ask her to maintain the courtesy.
Ma'am, I'll give you a chance to respond. Let him finish. Yeah, let him finish. Yeah, thank you.
Kindly ask her to maintain
yes.
the
Dr. Sen, finish your point. Yeah.
You will overpower because of your number.
Yeah, Dr.
I would
Sen,
like
finish.
to let you know, you are talking about the huge money recovered.
Yes.
Do you know the amount of PDS scam involved, BJP involved, 36,000 crore. Do you know the amount involved in Bepo scam, Karsi BJP? Do you know the amount involved in mining scam, Karsi BJP, 45,000 crore? Do you know the DHFL scam amount, Karsi BJP, 34,000 crore?
Okay.
Do you know the Chiti scam amount, Karsi BJP, 200 crore?
I'll give Priyanka Tibrewal the final word.
23,000 crore.
Priyanka Tibrewal, the point that no, once again, let me ask my question, ma'am. The point that people like Dr. Sen are making is twofold. Number one, whether it's a Narayan Rane, there is a minister by name Sanjay Rathod. He's now again been made minister in the Eknath Shinde Shiv Sena plus BJP government. Sanjay Rathod, when he was in the old Shiv Sena, the Thackeray Shiv Sena, every day BJP leaders used to take out, procession marches and campaigns out against him. There were serious cases against him. But suddenly when he's joined hands with your party and in alliance with your party, he's fit enough to be minister. And you've dropped the campaign. It is just, the question that's being asked is, this is symptomatic of what the BJP says, that corruption is, yes, an issue when the person who's being accused of corruption is an opposition leader. But when he or she becomes a BJP leader, suddenly the corruption vanishes.
Not at all. See, no cases have been dropped against Subhendu Adhikari or for others for that matter. Cases are continuing, and now once again I will repeat myself that whatever is the working of the ED and the CBI, the actions are being done by them, the investigations are being done by them. We do not run them. Whatever is happening here, be it the arrest of Anubrata Mondal or be it the arrest of Partho Chatterjee, has been done on the Honorable High Court's order, not on the order of BJP or any agency for that matter.
Okay.
So if he is having any difficulty, he should proceed before the court of law. Because, there is no point accusing the agencies. There is no point questioning the process of law and the credibility of these agencies. And if you have questions regarding that, go before the judiciary. Take out whatever proofs you have and tell them that others are not being arrested, we are being arrested.
All right.
Because top to bottom, everybody is corrupt in TMC.
Okay, I've got to wrap up. I want to thank Priyanka Tibrewal, Dr. Shantanu Sen for joining us. We'll see how this story plays out because, like I said, tomorrow the TMC is taking out a protest. Anubrata Mondal is going to be in custody till the 20th. We'll see how this story plays out over the next few days and weeks. Quick break. When we come back on the other side, one man didn't get the memo that smoking on flights is banned. That story right on the other side.